Hello, we are here to present you the valuation exercise, and the company is Adidas. Our group is Adite Kumar, Victor Suarez Faria, and me, Milad Mubayy. So, we're going to start by talking a little bit about Adidas and giving you some company background. Then move to the market environment and talk about the competition. Third, the free cash flow valuation, and finally, the multiples valuation. Well, few numbers about Adidas. Adidas employs 60,617 employees, has 800 factories worldwide, is present in 55 countries, and is 69 years old. Some highlights of Adidas AG. Adidas company became official in 1949. Before that, they were the early years going back and forth with the business. A huge highlight in the Adidas history is the miracle in Bern in 1954, where the first football shoes were introduced. And then they entered the apparel business in 1967 and introduced the World Cup football in 1970. In between the years 1972 and 1978, Adidas penetrated other sport categories such as gymnastics, tennis, and basketball. 1984 marked the introduction of the first smart shoes, a computer for your feet, as you can see here on the slides. 1993, Adidas went public and shifted to a marketing-driven company. 2006, Reebok joined the family. And finally, in 2016, Adidas established itself as a leader with digital innovation. Here is the product portfolio of Adidas. We have shoes, football, running, basketball, outdoor, golf, and many others. Apparel, t-shirts, training, jerseys, shorts, pants, and others as well. As also accessories, such as watches, training bags, and backpacks, hats. When we talk about Adidas, we should not forget Nike. And here we can see that there's a huge battle between both giants. Here is a market cap statistics between the years 2006 and 2015. As you can see, Nike is in red, Adidas is in blue, and the graph highlights the most important events that did the highest impact in the market cap of the two companies.
Now let's look at the overall market, and here we can see that the global revenue of Adidas, Nike, and Puma in $1 billion, and we can easily see that Nike has been the leader throughout, and Adidas has been the close competitor and in second position right from 2006 to 2017, and Puma has been almost flat with a minimal growth. Now, when we look at the four big players in global sportswear market share, we see that the Nike still has the biggest market share. Almost two-thirds of the market is owned by Nike. Adidas is second with almost one-fourth of the market, and Puma and Under Armour are very small players compared to these two big giants. Now let's look at the valuation methods and source. Now we have used two methods, free cash flow method and trading multiples. In free cash flow method, we have used the valuation of Adidas directly based on the financial data which was available. And in trading multiples, we have valued Adidas by comparing it with following publicly traded companies like Nike, Puma, and Under Armour. For the data source, we have used ycharts.com, and just for reference, we have also used Yahoo Finance and Google Finance.
So, let's start with the free cash flow method. First of all, we'll start by explaining where did the values we used for our forecast came from. It's actually a combination of two things. First, the CEO of Adidas very recently declared to be very optimistic regarding the company's growth up until 2020, and he also declared that he was very confident that the company would remain growing after that. In addition to this statement, we found in a website called For Traders a forecast up until 2020. In order to keep consistency with the values that we used for the calculation, which were not taken from the same website, the only thing that we used were the growth rate, the percentage that the company forecasted to grow between 1 year and the next. Here we move on to the actual calculation. As mentioned, the forecast assumptions for the first 3 years after 2017 were taken directly from the For Traders website, and they are depicted there on top of the sheet. For the beyond that, for 2021 and 2022, the group made an assumption and decided to trust the CEO that the company would continue to grow. So we chose a growth rate of 10% in 2021 and 10.5% in 2022. So most of the values that we see here in the spreadsheet were taken directly from Adidas financial statements. We used, as mentioned, we used ycharts.com for that, and we used it also for the multiples valuation in order to keep consistency. So the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement, and the cash flows that were analyzed were all taken from ycharts. Now we would like to explain the calculations that we did in this spreadsheet. For the net operating profit less adjusted taxes, as the name already says, it did the EBIT minus the taxes. For the change in net working capital, we use the change in receivables plus change in inventories minus change in payables. And finally, the free cash flow, we used depreciation minus capex minus the calculated change in net working capital. So before we discount this cash flow, we first found out the discount factor, which is the denominator of this formula that you can see on the top of the spreadsheet. So by calculating the discount factor and having the free cash flow, then it's easy to discount the free cash flows for each term. The only one thing to point out here is that at the terminal value we added a perpetuity of 2%, which is also depicted in the formula. By doing all these calculations and by having the correct values taken from the internet, we reached an enterprise value of $17.37 billion. Now let's move on to the trading multiples method. First of all, we'd like to explain why we picked these companies to compare Adidas to. The reason why we picked these companies is even though they have very different sizes, as already explained by my colleagues, they have a very similar product portfolio, including not only clothes but including smartwear and electronics. So they are very similarly positioned in the market, with differences in which sport they focus on in order to sponsor teams, for example. The final customer base is quite similar, and they are all international companies with a vast reach in different countries. The first part of the trading multiple was gathering the data. Again, we also used ycharts, and we got the market cap and the enterprise value for these companies for the years 2015, 2016, and 2017. One thing is worth noting here is that we did not use these values for Adidas in any of the calculations. The only reason why we have these values here is because they are available, and we thought it would be a good idea to QC our work at the end to see if we got close or further away to the actual value that was depicted by the market. So we found also the values for sales, EBITDA, EBIT, and the margins for all these 4 companies. Then, having those values, calculating the ratio is quite straightforward. Again, the Adidas ratios here are not going to be used. They are just there for reference as we were doing the spreadsheet. Then we calculated the median and the mean of these ratios. We used actually both methods here. We used the enterprise value, and we also used the market cap in order to do the ratios. We would like to see the difference between those two methods and actually quantify and see whether or not we were in the right track. While doing this, we noticed that Under Armour is a bit of an outlier with regards to their multiple ratios. Therefore, we did some further investigation in Y charts, and we found a few graphical uh, depictions of the ratios, and we can see here the comparison of each of these ratios for all these four companies that we are analyzing. And you can clearly visually see that the historical data, Under Armour is actually uh, a bit of an outlier with the other companies, with regards to the other companies. This will affect how we make the analysis, in which we'll explain in the next slide. So with that in mind, we tested a few different scenarios for our final valuation using the trading multiples method. We evaluated Adidas, comparing it with all three companies, Nike, Puma, and Under Armour. We evaluated it only comparing it with Nike, and we also evaluated it comparing it only with Nike and Puma, removing Under Armour, as we saw that it might be a company that's is not as similar as the other ones financially. Also, we used both enterprise value and market cap, since the goal is to compare the equity values. We used the market cap as well, and those were the results. So we got a range. Basically, with the trading multiples, the results are a range, but the average here is a good indication of the values that we arrived, and we reached quite similar value to the actual value that was stated in the internet for 2017, which was $40 billion. So just summarizing our final results, with the sales, EBITDA, and EBIT actual values, and the ratios that we found both for EV and for market cap, which is not in the picture here, we reached two ranges, one for EV and one for market cap. And we believe that with this analysis, we are confident that the value of the company would be in between 38 and 43 billion US dollars, which matches the official value from Adidas financial statement. So now we reach our final conclusion of the results. Again, it was a reasonable result with the multiple method, which matched the official information from the internet. It was very underpriced with the free cash flow method, around $17 billion. And one possible reason is that all of these companies are overpriced. And the reason why we assume that is because by comparing Adidas with those other companies through the multiple method, we reached a value that was so close to the actual value in the market, the actual value of the enterprise value. And with the free cash flow method, maybe we reached a more realistic value, which is maybe a representation of a market hype, or maybe some speculation. It's hard to say. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed our presentation, and we hope we can take some of the questions off about why we got such a difference between both methods in the class tomorrow. Thank you very much.